execute Order 69.
Yes, my master. Wait, what?
Okay, people, welcome back to another Fwoosh Weekly. As always, I'm Robo, and, quickies, huh? Everybody loves them. You just never know when they're gonna happen. There's a lot to talk about today, but there's also a little experimenting going on. I did a quickie on the Yolopark Transformers earlier in the week, and it pretty much covers everything I wanted to say. So my thought process is, take that quickie, insert it inside the weekly. And if it becomes a regular thing week to week, then the weekly will start with the quickies, and then we'll get into the meat and potatoes, the stuff I didn't get to talk about during the week. The plan is the weekly stays the same, just with added stuff while freeing me up a little bit on Fridays, because it does get hectic. These damn toy companies just... Downside of the quickies being part of the weekly, my shirt changes segment to segment. I don't know why that bugs me so much. Another thing is I've changed my camera angle today because I'm still messing with it after knocking it down a couple of months ago. So this angle is going to be different from this angle. Last weekend at New York Toy Fair, I randomly ran across the Yolopark booth. I was looking for something else and boo! There it was. In doing so, I got to mess with their Transformers AMK Pro Series Generation 1 Megatron, and it's a little out of scale with what I already have on the shelf, and I think when it was first revealed, the face seemed a little flat, or at least that's the feeling I got from the promotional images. But having it in hand, like I said, and I was told it's going to ship in the next month, so that's even better. But that's not the news. While I was in that booth, I looked up and realized that they had already shown an AMK Pro Series Generation 1 Optimus Prime. And god dang, that makes everything more tempting. You give us the yin to the yang when it comes to Transformers leaders, and it's almost irresistible. You gotta have the pair. They just look so good together. That made me jump completely off the fence and put in my pre-order for Megatron. It was too easy. There was a QR code in the booth. It was like, okay, click, done. Because Prime looks amazing. Megatron looks amazing. They look amazing together. Plus, besides Prime having the accessories that he comes with, or that he's shown with in the images, like the Energy Axe, the Ion Cannon, there's also a scaled Megatron in gun mode. And that makes it even more fun because the rep told me that the next Transformer is Starscream. That's on top of 10 more for next year. I don't know if that includes Starscream or besides Starscream, but 10 more makes the future seem bright. You know, a lot of these companies do the main characters and then they move on. They just, okay, here's these. Nah. But if there's going to be 10 more to go along with Optimus and Megatron and Starscream, especially if they get to Soundwave, I gotta be there for that. All in all, the $50 price tag seems worth it. With the 8-inch size, the amount of accessories, the various die-cast parts, that's just a lot of goodness for that amount of money. But remember, these are technically model kits, but in the broadest sense of the word. It's not a ton of little tiny pieces in sprues you gotta cut out and put together. It's more take the leg, plug it into the waist, plug it into the torso. It's broken up by body part. I'm guessing this is done for licensing, where they can do a similar scale to other companies, but then the model gimmick sets it apart. I just know the one I messed with felt like your standard action figure. It felt solid and kind of heavy because of the die cast and Megatron. Right now, Megatron is up for pre-order, and like I mentioned, should release in the next month, and then Optimus should be available in the next couple of months with a quick turnaround. Little follow-up to that quickie, Yolopark actually showed the grayscale prototype for the AMK Pro Series Generation 1 Starscream, and just like I imagined, it's awesome. But it seems that some of those 10 planned for next year will be based off more recent movies, so it's not all classic goodness. That's just speaking for me, though. If you're into that kind of thing, there you go. More goodness for you, too. Goodness for me, goodness for you, goodness for everybody. I'm still in for the G1 stuff, but it's going to be more slow-going than I expected. I also ran across this picture of the Golden Colors version of the AMK Pro Series Generation 1 Megatron, and I have no information for it. I get it, it's easy reuse, but I don't know if it's a reference to something. Or is it meant to be an award? And the Megatron goes to Mezco for whipping up this amazing looking alternate head for their 1/12 Collective Mask figure. Seemed like as good a segue as any. Anyway, Mezco solicited their Mask figure, and what could have been a plain dude in a suit with a crazy green mask actually shines because the accessories steal the show here. Like I said, that double take expression is inspired. It really does have a sense of motion. Yeah. If you look at it too close, if you think about it too much, you're gonna go, well, that's just 3 faces on a head. But go ahead. Let the whimsy, the wonder take over. Then there's another head with a bullet hole dead center of the forehead, and I'll admit it, I don't know a lot about the comics version of the mask, but this makes me want to go back and see what's going on in those comic books. Then there's some standard weapons and effects, some bombs, some guns, but on top of that, to add to the mask factor, is some juiced up uber guns. The swappable barrels give you all kinds of options. I believe it's just for that center, you take that out and you put that on, but then the other one is also an uber gun. They're both called uber guns. Not quite sure why this falls into the label deluxe territory, but I'm rolling with it because of the uniqueness of some of those accessories. I mentioned Wonder Festival, and there, Inart, I don't know how to say the name, they showed off a 1/12 scale Nolan Trilogy Batman, and I bring it up because I'm pretty sure that company only deals with 1/6 scale figures, at least so far. I can't back up that claim though. I don't really follow the 12-inch scene. But you show me something 6-inch, and I'm there. I'm looking. I'm wondering, what? Huh? And it's always interesting when a company jumps from that larger scale to a smaller scale. I think Hot Toys did it with, well, it was a Nolan Trilogy Batman, wasn't it? From Dark Knight Rises to go along with their 1/12 scale Bat. But I haven't seen anything like that since, so I don't know what sales were like for them. I never followed up with the figure either. I remember talking about the figure itself, the solicitation, but after that, I didn't look at any reviews. I don't know how it came out. Either way, this is what Inart is showing. I guess we'll find out what happens in the future. Since we're talking imports, 'tis the season for announcements, so Kaiyodo dropped a whole heaping helping of Amazing Yamaguchi teases. Well, I say teases, they show the pictures. And for one, they actually showed the figure, but it's still more than we're used to seeing all at one time from the company. First, they went crazy with the video game franchises. There's Ryu, Hayabusa, and Ayane from Ninja Gaiden, and then there's Luke, Ryu, Chun-Li, and Juri from Street Fighter. Correct me if I'm wrong, and I frequently am when it comes to game properties, but Juri has been on a lot of people's lists for a long time, right? Because never had a figure? That's a nice out-of-the-gate pick if true. Or maybe I'm making that all up. Because like I said, I think the Street Fighter figures are based on the newest game. Or maybe it's an older game. Or a middle game. Somewhere in there. The Amazing Yamaguchi DC Supergirl is more my speed. She's unmistakably in that Revoltech style, and she'll fit in right alongside the Harley they've already released. And I think, did they just put up pre-orders for Catwoman? Or was that a little while back? Sometime in the past? Sometime before this exact moment? This is also the same costume that McFarlane Toys recently put into their DC Multiverse line, right? Or am I wrong about that too? I say too like I was wrong before without confirming if I was wrong. I just assume I'm wrong at this point. Anyway, speaking of, I just saw this McFarlane Toys DC Multiverse Batman Beyond vs. Justice Lord Superman at Toy Fair last weekend, and ba-boom, here's pre-orders already. I've always been a sucker for this costume on Superman because of the black and whites. As I always say about Venom and the symbiote Spider-Man and Spider-Woman's and anybody in a black and white costume, it's visually striking. I love the contrast, but there's also hints of red. The head may be slightly large, but at least it's appropriately mean looking. But then the Batman Beyond is green, and I have no idea why. I'm sure this is calling back to something, but it doesn't even match the package art, so I have no frame of reference. Saying that, I really like this, just because of the colors. Like I just said about the blacks and whites, black and green is high on my list too. That neon kind of glow in the dark that doesn't really glow in the dark green. But something out of the blue that I also really like because of the wackiness factor is the McFarlane Toys DC Multiverse gold label McFarlane Toys store exclusive Batman and Santas. I almost got through that whole sentence without looking down, and I veered off at the end. Again, I do not know what these are, but at least there's a cover that shows Batman in a Santa costume in both the blues and the reds, and that's enough for me. Really, right there. All in one package. I can look at it and go, oh, it's based on that? Okay. Plus a little holiday cheer on the Dark Knight just intrigues the hell out of me. I know the red suit is more traditional, but I find myself gravitating towards the blue. And not just because it's swoosh colors, I think it's because the blue actually travels up the cowl and then gives us that classic shadow look on the forehead. I'm just a huge fan of that. And then the red is a more modern all black cowl. But then again, I also really like blue over red. So there's that too. I like what I like. From one holiday to another, Fresh Monkey Fiction has revealed the next iteration of their Naughty or Nice collection, but instead of Christmas, it's now Halloween. Titled The Bizarre World of Naughty or Nice, it's a nice pivot. It reuses parts that they're already using on figures in the line and sprucing them up, pumpkin spicing them up a little bit with new parts. For Peter and Patch, it's obviously Santa parts, but the new hands and heads are, I feel like I'm stating the obvious here. The big old jack-o'-lantern noggins do a lot to change them up. But you can see that. Why am I here? I like the deep orange of Patch's head more than the greenness of Peter's. But I like Peter's flannel shirt and boots. So I don't want to buy two figures just to mix and match, but the option is there if you want to do that. Then the elves have been modified into hauntlings with a head-changing troop building concept. All in all, it's a neat dip into a different time of year without being as overwhelming as the Santas. And I don't mean that in a negative way, it's just that there were so many variations, which is a good thing because it gives everybody a little something to look at. But for me, it was hard to pick and choose which one. I can't get all of them. Easy, slow down. But which ones do I actually want? I need. My hope is that this opens the door for more wacky versions of other holiday mascots. I'd like to see an Easter bunny in this line. Or maybe something from Thanksgiving or 4th of July. Could you imagine Cupid on one of these bodies? Valentine's Day is right around the corner. I just mentioned troop building, and that rolls neatly into the theme of the last two offerings from Fresh Monkey Fiction's Operation Monster Force. Last week was the Phantom Corps Special Operations Detachment Trooper. I'm not going to grab about another soldier to add to the ever-growing army here. Basically, these are the troops sent up against the Forgotten King, and I guess they're hoping that they don't get converted, or well, killed off, and then resurrected in his eternal evil service. To add even more options, there's an accessory pack specifically for this crew to load them up and ship them out. Then this week brought the Blackwatch Agent. I can remember that name, 2 words, ba-pow, ba-pow. Same concept, except these guys watch over high-ranking government officials or important public figures. Kind of a Monster Force Secret Service. But in this case, they're given a potion that transforms them into shadow ghouls. Whenever things are calm, they look like normal humans, but when the supernatural kicks up, they transform. They can see it and react accordingly. More than that, though, brilliantly, vampires develop the process for the shadow ghouls. So technically, these guys are already in the service of an undead master. That means they can't be converted to the Forgotten King's army. Genius. I say this every episode, but the week-to-week showings, oh man, it just locks everything in. I can remember the figures, I can remember the story because it's just little bite-sized morsels. That's the way to my head and heart. Short attention span. Just a paragraph in the solicitation. It's not a 6 seasons of a cartoon I have to watch. It's not a series of comics. It's not a book that I'm going to lose interest in at page 2. It's just a Anyway, back to the toys. There's also an accessory pack for this figure, but it's all heads and hands. So you can come up with different agents as well as throwing those parts onto pre-existing soldiers. Options, options, options. You gotta love it. And if you wanted to add more civilians or more aliens to your shelf, there's always Street Humans from ShartimusPrime. That's right, he regrouped, he got some nice prototypes together, revamped, and restarted his Kickstarter. Streamlined to start with Ilago and Eon, it's meant to fill out your displays or your action shots, but there's also a running storyline, but it sounds even better in an epic voice.
Hailing from planet Udoba, Eon plans for world domination, and Ilago will do anything to stop him. Shape-shifting to human form, these 6.5-inch scale collectible figures are loaded with detailed sculpt, over 30 points of articulation, and feature swappable parts. Troop build and customized to round out your display with a fresh new look. Stretch goals will unlock additional accessories such as hoodies, jerseys, heads, arms, and hands. Unlock stretch goals for new characters Edil and Iris, as well as new accessory packs with new alien heads and weapons. Starting at only $28 per figure with discounted bundle options available. You can make the most of your collection and back Street Humans today.
The Kickstarter just kickstarted recently, so if you're interested, link is in the description. Look at Boss Fights Legends of Lucha Libre Premium Wave 3. I actually lost track of these and missed out on Wave 2, so it's been a while since I've messed with the premium figures. I got Ray Phoenix and Penta from Wave 1, but if I understand correctly, they've tweaked the scale since then to fit in better with other wrestling lines. That makes me even more excited because Taya Valkyrie has been showing up in AEW. So, mix and match. That's always a good thing. I don't know a lot about Teneblas Jr., but I love that mask design. It's very superhero-ish. In fact, it's very classic DC. Who was that character? It's been a long time since I've messed with those. I have seen the Laredo Kid in action, and again, getting an action figure of that in this design, I mean, the golds and the whites just pop. And again, that was in AEW, but I can only speak on what I know. I can only talk about what I watch. I know these people are much bigger deals in other promotions, but I haven't seen those promotions. I say that because Vampiro I've only seen in the Sting feud in WCW way back, so it's been a while. But I'm a sucker for a guy in face paint, and that checks all the boxes here. There's swappable parts, alternate heads, and that's with all the figures. Well, Taya comes with a dog and a staple gun, and then an alternate head, jackets. There's a lot of options here. These are so amazing looking that it makes me want to go back and get Wave 2 just to catch up. Get ready for these to release. Mattel didn't go to Toy Fair this year, opting instead to stay home and just solicit a metric buttload of Masters of the Universe. I'll admit I have fallen off the Masterverse train, but I do pick up the random new Eternia figure that catches my eye. I still look at everything though because I love the property. It's right here. It resides within my nostalgia-loving heart. I think we saw a few of these back at San Diego Comic-Con, but I'm still going to run through them because new pictures. For Revolution, there's Sorceress Teela, Skeletor, and He-Man. These make sense, just a natural progression from where we left off in Revelation. Teela was the sorceress, she looks good in the garb. Skeletor was captured by the Techno Cult, so of course his design is going to evolve to look more like some of those followers. And then He-Man isn't really that different, just battle armored up. But I will say that the proportions are better here than what we saw with the first He-Man in Masterverse. I don't know if they tweaked the sizes on some things, but it just feels more balanced from head to toe. There's also a Revolution Gwildor and Orko 2-pack. Again, this picks right up from where we last saw Orko, but Gwildor is also a nice addition, seeing him outside the movies. Speaking of that, the film Evil Lyn is a surprise. Not a surprise in the sense that she wasn't at San Diego Comic-Con, because she was. So we already knew about this one, but her just being in this line is kind of a surprise. It's neat. It's nice. Needed. Like I said though, New Eternia is where my bread is buttered these days. There we're getting Trapjaw, Man-at-Arms, Mechaneck, and Triclops. I like that these adhere to the 80s look for the most part, but then whips in some concept art accessories that you can use or not use depending on your preference. Like Triclops with the sword and sash. If you don't want those parts, throw them out. But if you want them, they're there. That's cool. I'm pretty excited about Mechanic being able to look higher than 1 or 2 feet like we usually see with his action figures. Maybe I missed it, but can you buy a couple of these and then keep adding to the neck? I know there's the blue collar right there that goes up under his chin, but you can do anything with a little heat when it comes to toys. Pop that top piece off, bring the, I don't know if the sockets will match up, but heat and Dremel works wonders. Then you put it up there and you have Super Mechanic. Trapjaw doesn't get as crazy with the extra design elements. I think the hook hand is updated, but otherwise it's mostly 80s, just in a modern aesthetic. I will say that the belt and fur skirt seems a little big on the body. I don't know if it's the thickness or if the body is smaller, but think about it. I'm suddenly coming around to it in my mental image, but I'll need to go look at pictures again because this isn't really here. I can't see this. I'm just waving in the air. Man-at-Arms is my favorite though, just armored and mustached up. At least that's how I prefer them. If you like something different, there's also a head without the mustache and then there's helmet options. This caught me off guard though. Entertainment Earth used this as their cover shot for the figure, and I guess I've never really thought about it, although it makes sense. Maybe I didn't think about it because it's the only thing that makes sense, having a green bodysuit. It's the hood part here though. The green coming up over and then you can swap out the helmets. It just looks weird to me. Duncan, put your hat back on. There's also new pre-orders for Mattel's Masters of the Universe Origins line, but we don't talk about those around here. We are 6 and 7 inch all the way here. We are whoosh. That's a hard line. Nothing below. But if I were to talk about something Origins, it would probably be the cartoon collection because, Filmation. If you told me that I could only collect one version of He-Man figures, Masters of the Universe, it would be their Filmation looks. It's just too near and dear. It's an integral part of my childhood, so making new figures based on that look, it's too good to pass up. If I were to do Origins, sure, I have the classics versions, but these are way better than they have any right to be. Hell, I think I can honestly say that these nail the looks better than the classics, especially the faces. But even if I wanted to stick with classics, it's been proven that the heads of those, Masterverse and Origins, are all swappable in some form or fashion. So at $18 a pop, I could upgrade those and give them tune-specific accessories. Be aware that Man-at-Arms has only popped up on Amazon. I'm not sure if it's an exclusive there, but the rest are all available on your favorite online retailer. Or at least that's what I'd say if I even talked about Origins, because I don't talk about Origins. I do not collect Origins because, ooh, yuck, smaller scale, limited articulation. I'm just hypothesizing what I would say. Dang it. Come to Robo. Some out of the blue reveals for Hasbro's Star Wars Black Series this week, and you could take that literally if it wasn't clear. Blue, clear. God damn, I'm good. Anyway, the Holocom collection is complete reuse of existing figures, just in translucent plastic with a light-up base. My initial reaction was, no! Another offshoot line that just reuse a sculpt. But then I sat on it a bit and thought, oh man, hologram communicators. Then I realized there's little numbers at the bottom and that they're actually bounty pucks. That's actually kind of clever. I mean, it's not the greatest idea in the world, and it's not going to appeal to everybody. It may only appeal to a small section of collectors, but it's still kind of neat. And at this point, it's way better than Carbonized or Credit Collection. Credit Collection has the allure of prop money, which I do like every now and then when I find it on clearance or something. And then Carbonized does enhance fully armored up characters with a metallic sheen. But beyond that, they both fall flat. This at least has a fun factor to it, but just like those collections, Holocom is also exclusive to various outlets. Axewolves is at Amazon, Mando is Pulse and Shop Disney, Bo-Katan is Target, and Ahsoka is Walmart. Target and Walmart don't have their listings up yet because Target's gonna Target, and then Walmart's Collector Con is next week, so that's when they're gonna put Ahsoka up. What's interesting is Han Solo at fan channels like Big Bad Toy Store, Entertainment Earth. Amazon and Pulse has theirs for $34.99, but Han is $28, $29, somewhere in there. It's cheaper. Did they finally cut fan channels a break of some kind? And look, I get it. These are just milking the molds that they already have. That's just how Star Wars operates at this point. It lends itself less to reuse when it comes to characters that aren't troopers or droids or clones or whoever. It's not like superheroes and soldiers where you can swap out bodies most of the time. You have to make up the budget where you can. Oh, Robo's making excuses for the big companies again. No, I'm telling you like it is. That's it. Because I'm not gonna lie, I'm not buying these. But they're there for people who want it. I'd be tempted more by Cody, or Palpatine, or Leia, or Vader. Characters that I remember showing up in hologram form. I get the bounty puck idea, but other holograms would be cool. But more my speed. Because I've had this for years, and I have fun with it every time I pick it up. Mama. Oh, is that even showing? Like I mentioned, Walmart's Collector Con is next week, and there will be some exclusive Hasbro G.I.Joe Classified Series figures. Shadow Tracker and Wolf Spider have popped up overseas, so there's not a lot of mystery around them. Double so for Shadow Tracker because that was digitally revealed back in March. That's not to take away from either of them though, because both are awesome, even though I don't know anything about either of them. Shadow Tracker has a cool Predator vibe, and then Wolf Spider is extra tactical. He's got all kinds of gear. But then there's Night Force Tunnel Rat. Even though I don't have it quite yet, I think I'm good with the mainline Tunnel Rat, but there are some things that jumped into my eye holes. Some interesting tidbits. The original Night Force Tunnel Rat has a black shirt, light gray pants, and green gloves. The classified Night Force Tunnel Rat has a black shirt, dark gray pants, and darker gray gloves. The vintage Tunnel Rat has a green shirt, black pants, and black gloves. The mainline classified Tunnel Rat has a green shirt, light gray pants, and lightish gray gloves. So really, if you're a stickler for 80s accuracy, you buy both versions, swap the lower halves and the hands, and that'll get you closer to what you remember. Not perfect, but closer. That doesn't really change my mind about sticking with the mainline, really. Again, because I'm not tethered to the vintage figures. I just thought I'd point that out. And that's it for this week. You know, just a little bit of toy news. Well, okay, that's actually 2 weeks of toy news. Condensed together. Thrown together. So, but we're back. I don't think I'm taking any more trips in the near future. In fact, I think the next scheduled trip is San Diego next July. And then the next toy fair isn't until March 2025 in New York, but then in 26, 27, and 28, it's in New Orleans. So it'd be cool to just change of scenery. Plus New Orleans is closer. I can drive there. Well, I mean, it's a day trip, but I don't have to mess with flights and airports and take your shoes off and let me look through your bag. And you carrying all that on? Yes, I am. Ooh, the gate's way down there. Travel, travel, travel. I love it, though. I do love getting out of Arkansas every now and then. But I also like returning. It's home. Can't help myself. This is me. Drifting off screen. Oh, I'm the ghostly voice of Robo. What happened? There's so many toys to talk about.